The lion, the donkey, and the fox hunting. The lion, the donkey, and the fox formed a party to go out hunting. They took a large booty, and when the sport was ended, bethought themselves of having a hearty meal. The lion bade the donkey allot the spoil. So, dividing it into 3 equal parts, the donkey begged his friends to make their choice, at which the lion, in great indignation, fell upon the donkey and tore him to pieces. He then bade the fox make a division, who, gathering the whole into one great heap, reserved but the smallest mite for himself. "Ah, friend," says the lion, "who taught you to make so equitable a division?" "I wanted no other lesson," replied the fox, "than the donkey's fate. Better be wise by the misfortunes of others than by your own." The dog whose ears were cropped. A dog complained of the cruelty of her master in cutting off her ears, and was so ashamed of her appearance that she resolved to stay in her kennel with her family. A friendly hunting dog said to her, "If you had been peaceful, and not always fighting, you would have saved your ears and your good looks. If you will fight, it is a kindness to crop your ears, that they may not give your enemy the advantage." The wind and the sun. A dispute once arose between the wind and the sun, which was the stronger of the two, and they agreed to settle the point upon this issue, that whichever of the two soonest made a traveler take off his cloak should be accounted the more powerful. The wind began and blew with all his might and main a blast, cold and fierce as a Thracian storm. But the stronger he blew, the closer the traveler wrapped his cloak around him, and the tighter he grasped it with his hands. Then broke out the sun. With his welcome beams, he dispersed the vapor and the cold. The traveler felt the genial warmth, and as the sun shone brighter and brighter, he sat down, quite overcome with the heat, and taking off his cloak, cast it on the ground. Thus the sun was declared the conqueror. It has ever been deemed that persuasion is better than force, and that the sunshine of a kind and gentle manner will sooner lay open a poor man's heart than all the threatenings and force of blustering authority. The Wild Boar and the Fox. A wild boar was whetting his tusks against a tree when a fox came by and asked why he did so. "For," said the fox, "I see no reason for it. There is neither hunter nor hound in sight, nor any other danger that I can see at hand." "True," replied the boar, "but when that danger does arise, I shall have something else to do than to sharpen my weapons." It is too late to whet the sword when the trumpet sounds to draw it.
The Hunter and the Wolf. A greedy hunter one day shot the fine deer, and ere he could dress it, a pretty fawn came that way, and an arrow brought it to the ground. A boar now chanced to be passing, and the hunter wounded it, so that it lay upon the ground, as if dead. Not satisfied with this game, he must needs pursue a partridge, that came fluttering near, and while he was doing so, the wounded boar regained enough strength to spring upon him and kill him. A wolf came that way, and seeing the 4 dead bodies, said, "Here is food for a month, but I will save the best, and be content today with the bowstring." But when he seized the string, it loosened the fixed arrow, which shot him through the heart. The greedy man and the miser cannot enjoy their gains. The Astronomer. An astronomer used to walk out every night to gaze upon the stars. It happened one night that, with his whole thoughts wrapped up in the skies, he fell into a well. One who heard his cries ran up to him and said, "While you are trying to pry into the mysteries of heaven, you overlook the common objects under your feet. We should never look so high as to miss seeing the things that are around us."
The Bulls and the Frogs. 2 bulls lived in the same herd, and each aspiring to be the leader and master, they finally engaged in a fierce battle. An old frog, who sat on the bank of a stream nearby, began to groan and quake with fear. A thoughtless young frog said to the old one, "Why need you be afraid? What is it to you that the bulls fight for supremacy?" "Do you not see," said the old frog, "that one must defeat the other, and that the defeated bull, being driven from the field, will be forced to stay in the marshes and will thus trample us to death. The poor and weak are often made to suffer for the follies of the great.
The Thief and His Mother. A schoolboy stole a horn book from one of his schoolfellows and brought it home to his mother. Instead of chastising him, she rather encouraged him in the deed. In course of time, the boy, now grown into a man, began to steal things of greater value until at last, being caught in the very act, he was brought to the judge and sentenced to be hung. As he was being led to the scaffold, the mother bowed herself to the ground with grief. A neighbor seeing her thus said to her, "It is too late for you to moan and sob now. If you had been as much grieved when he committed his first theft, you would have corrected him in time and thus have saved yourself this sorrowful day." Nip evil in the bud.
The Man and His Two Wives. In days when a man was allowed more wives than one, a middle-aged bachelor, who could be called neither young nor old, and whose hair was only just beginning to turn gray, must needs fall in love with two women at once and marry them both. The one was young and blooming, and wished her husband to appear as youthful as herself. The other was somewhat more advanced in age, and was as anxious that her husband should appear a suitable match for her. So, while the young one seized every opportunity of pulling out the good man's gray hairs, the old one was as industrious in plucking out every black hair she could find, till he found that, between the one and the other, he had not a hair left. He that submits his principles to the influence and caprices of opposite parties will end in having no principles at all.
The heifer, the goat, the sheep, and the lion. A heifer, a goat, a sheep, and a lion formed a partnership and agreed to divide their earnings. The goat having snared a stag, they sent for the lion to divide it for them. The lion said, "I will make 4 parts. The first shall be mine as judge, the second, because I am strongest, the third, because I am bravest, and the fourth, I will kill anyone who dares touch it. He who will steal a part will steal the whole." The camel and the travelers. 2 travelers on a desert saw a camel in the distance and were greatly frightened at his huge appearance, thinking it to be some huge monster. While they hid behind some low shrubs, the animal came nearer, and they discovered that it was only a harmless camel which had excited their fears. Distance exaggerates dangers.
The Swan and the Goose. A certain rich man bought in the market a goose and a swan. He fed the one for his table and kept the other for the sake of its song. When the time came for killing the goose, the cook went to take him at night, when it was dark, and he was not able to distinguish one bird from the other, and he caught the swan instead of the goose. The swan, threatened with death, burst forth into song, and thus made himself known by his voice and preserved his life by his melody. Sweet words may deliver us from peril when harsh words would fail. The Dolphins and the Sprat. The dolphins and the whales were at war with one another, and the Sprat stepped in and endeavored to separate them. But one of the dolphins cried out, "We would rather perish in the contest than be reconciled by you." Those who are determined to fight will not listen to reason.
The Shepherd and the Sea. A shepherd moved down his flock to feed near the shore, and beholding the sea lying in a smooth calm, he was seized with a strong desire to sail over it. So he sold all his sheep and bought a cargo of dates and loaded a vessel and set sail. He had not gone far when a storm arose. His ship was wrecked, and his dates and everything lost, and he himself with difficulty escaped to land. Not long after, when the sea was again calm, and one of his friends came up to him and was admiring its repose, he said, "Have a care, my good fellow, of that smooth surface. It is only looking out for your dates. Appearances can be deceiving. Calm waters may hide dangers beneath."
The Bees, the Drones, and the Wasp. Some bees had built their comb in the hollow trunk of an oak. The drones asserted that it was their doing and belonged to them. The cause was brought into court before Judge Wasp. Knowing something of the parties, he thus addressed them. The plaintiffs and defendants are so much alike in shape and color as to render the ownership a doubtful matter. Let each party take a hive to itself and build up a new comb, that from the shape of the cells and the taste of the honey, the lawful proprietors of the property in dispute may appear. The bees readily assented to the wasp's plan. The drones declined it, whereupon the wasp gave judgment, "It is clear now who made the comb and who cannot make it. The court adjudges the honey to the bees." Professions are best tested by deeds.
The Wolf, the Goat, and the Kid. As an old goat was going forth to pasture, she carefully latched her door and bid her kid not to open it to anyone who could not give this password: "Beware of the wolf and all his race." A wolf happened to be passing and overheard what the old goat said. When she was gone, he went to the door and, knocking, said, "Beware of the wolf and all his race." But the kid, peeping through a crack, said, "Show me a white paw, and I will open the door." As the wolf could not do this, he had to depart, no better than he came. Two sureties are better than one.
The Fox and the Hedgehog. A fox, while crossing over a river, was driven by the stream into a narrow gorge and lay there for a long time unable to get out, covered with myriads of horseflies that had fastened themselves upon him. A hedgehog who was wandering in that direction saw him, and taking compassion on him, asked him if he should drive away the flies that were so tormenting him. But the fox begged him to do nothing of the sort. "Why not?" asked the hedgehog. "Because," replied the fox, "these flies that are upon me now are already full, and draw but little blood, but should you remove them, a swarm of fresh and hungry ones will come, who will not leave a drop of blood in my body." When we throw off rulers or dependents who have already made the most of us, we do but, for the most part, lay ourselves open to others, who will make us bleed yet more freely.
The Brazier and His Dog. A brazier had a little dog, which was a great favorite with his master and his constant companion. While he hammered away at his metals, the dog slept. But when, on the other hand, he went to dinner and began to eat, the dog woke up and wagged his tail, as if he would ask for a share of his meal. His master one day, pretending to be angry and shaking his stick at him, said, "You wretched little sluggard, what shall I do to you? While I am hammering on the anvil, you sleep on the mat, and when I begin to eat after my toil, you wake up and wag your tail for food. Do you not know that labor is the source of every blessing, and that none but those who work are entitled to eat?" The moral is clear: idleness has no reward. The Wild Donkey and the Lion. A wild donkey and a lion entered into an alliance that they might capture the beasts of the forest with greater ease. The lion agreed to assist the wild donkey with strength, while the wild donkey gave the lion the benefit of his greater speed. When they had taken as many beasts as their necessities required, the lion undertook to distribute the prey, and for this purpose divided it into 3 shares. "I will take the first share," he said, "because I am king, and the second share as a partner with you in the chase, and the third share, believe me, will be a source of great evil to you unless you willingly resign it to me and set off as fast as you can. Might makes right,